Alrighty, here we go. So, July 2nd Roadmap Roundup. And now that Nazareth isn't here, I will be reading the preamble. I miss you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Hey, Shimpasta07, good to see you, friendo. How you doing? So, every 2 weeks, we accompany the roadmap update with a brief explanatory note to give you insight into the decision making that led to any changes. This is part of an effort to make our communications more transparent, more specific, and more insightful for all of you who help make Star Citizen and Squadron 42 possible. Just a reminder, the 1.0 column showcases features and content planned for inclusion in or before Star Citizen 1.0. This means you may not have to wait for this 1.0 release to experience them. As features content in the 1.0 column become ready, they'll migrate left into a point patch column for release. Be sure to check back every 2 weeks for the latest updates. With that, let's dive into this week's Roadmap Roundup. CIG Community Team. All right, so notable changes for July 2nd. The release view 4.2.1, new hairstyles. The adding 2 additional hairstyles, this has been set to tentative. The global event tracking service. So this is what they're using for the progress on, oh gosh, I just brain farted on the name, but it's where we're all collecting resources and doing stuff for the 4 major corporations in Stanton to further the goal, the supposed goal of addressing the issue with regeneration that's going on in the verse right now as part of their ongoing narrative. And so a lot of especially when it comes to missions and events in game, a lot of the new things that we're seeing as content rolls out is because they are taking advantage, finding ways to take advantage of new tech and services and features that are being developed as a part of ongoing development and testing those things. And that's why, like with the I don't think it's a spoiler. The new escort missions. If you've heard about, I think we're going to read about those. I think that, or no, those are in P2 right now, if I remember correctly. Sorry, the patches are dropping and changing so fast. It's hard to remember what is where. But like those new escort missions, where a ship pops out of a hangar, and then you have to escort it, or you have to escort it to a hangar. That's new tech, and they are putting missions in specifically for us to test out that tech feature in order to figure out, make sure it works, and then they will use that to build additional missions, and not just missions, but remember the mission system is modular. So every mission is made up of different modules that they chain together. And so we'll be talking about that more tonight when we talk about rescue missions. But the global event tracking service, that's a new service. And this part of the narrative that we're doing with the resource drive is to take advantage of that service. And we were going to see more uses of that service in the future. This is just the initial rollout, and so they're testing it with this part of an event. And so we're going to see that continue to develop and become more robust in the future. There we go, the Second Life resource drive. So implementing a new system, allowing our systems to track players' progression across multiple shards. This is important because it's tied into essentially every shard. And this is something that it's tech that has to tie into server meshing and also has to continue to work as they develop dynamic server meshing. Because they can't, it can't be individualized across individual shards. These things are going to be global. The system will first be used in conjunction with our new global event coming in Alpha 4.2.1. It can be found in the Moby Glass Journal Second Life resource drive. This card has been set to tentative. Missions collection, improving Wicklow Emporium's missions, allowing players to specifically focus on the ships and gear they want to unlock. I haven't read too much about that, but I'm glad that they are. They were talking about improvements to Wicklow and usability, and also make it more robust, because I can't tell you how many times I've heard about people losing favors after turning them in, like they just disappear into thin air. So there's been a lot of development on that to make it more usable. Wicklow is a great first edition of that type. We definitely need a whole lot more of them, but before they add more of them, we need to make sure that this one is right and works as intended. Pardon me, I'm still dealing with these lingering effects of this cold, so still some congestion and coughing. Missions collection, medium utility armor. Strata Corporation liveries, adding a new medium utility armor, Strata Corporation liveries, as rewards for participating in 4.2.1's global event. This card has been set to tentative. I really like the look of that armor. It's the one that they showed off. Actually, tell you what, we're going to pull up the release view so we can look at the images. I like the look of that armor. They showed it off at CitizenCon. And let's see. Characters, it's this guy. So that armor. So it's a full set, including backpack. And so it looks like we're going to get a livery for each major corporation. I don't know, and if you are listening to this live or watching it later on YouTube, if you can let me know in the comments. I don't know if they have said anything about a non-corporation livery. Obviously, you can see Crusader, ArtCore, Hurston, and Microtech right there. But I would like to see a plain one, or just standard colors and different types of liveries. What? Did we just become best friends? Hey, BlizzRad07, thanks for coming in and hanging out. Thanks for renewing your sub and keeping up the support. Really appreciate it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the liveries and seeing that armor. It's a utility armor, and so I'm also one of the things I really can't wait for, and I can't emphasize this enough, is seeing how suits and armors get differentiated more to professions, like they talked about at CitizenCon, and the different benefits. And that's something that I'm going to talk about when we talk about rescue missions, because they have talked about. Ooh, that's one thing that I forgot. You can see all my links up here. That's one thing I forgot to pull up is I think it was CitizenCon 2020, maybe it was 2019. Richard Tyler was up on stage and they were talking about, again, way back, this is something they've gone over multiple times. Hey, North End Trooper 07, good to see you, buddy. You dropped in chat and I didn't even have to say hacking. But that was one of the armor types that they talked about, was a medic armor or medic specific armor. And I forgot to pull up that link. But I will mention it when we talk about Maverick6907. Good to see you. Thanks for dropping by. I hope you're doing well. Happy Independence Day, America. And if you're in the UK or part of the Commonwealth, bloody rebels. So yeah, I'm interested in that armor. I'm definitely more of a utilitarian guy, especially when I'm doing my 0 to hero. So I'm excited to acquire that. I'm going to be playing a lot more over the next, at least the next month. Mid-August, I have to go away for 2 weeks for the Army, and I'll be gone for 3 weeks in September. So I won't get to play as much, and the podcast will be a little bit irregular over the next in August and September. But this month and before I leave, I definitely want to be involved in the event and earn that armor. Especially, I'm thinking microtech is probably going to be my shtick, because I want to earn it on my Zero to Hero. I'll probably earn it on both, but definitely my Zero to Hero. Okay, so 4.3. And 4.3 should be the August patch, if I remember correctly. The first addition to the 4.3 patch on the roadmap, cooperative zones. As soon as I read that first word, I got super excited. If you've hung out in my Discord at all, you know that there's an entire section dedicated to co-op games. And I have streamed many times playing co-op games like Helldivers and Starship Troopers and Deep Rock Galactic. I love co-op gameplay. I could not... Hey, glad to see you here live with me, Maverick. I appreciate you coming in and tuning in live. Hopefully we'll be able to get together more often. But yeah, it's just I wish I could stream earlier in the day, but I got to wait until the rest of the family goes to bed. So late it is. Well, late for most people. It's 8 o'clock my time. But yeah, I love co-op games. I could not care less about PvP in my MMOs. It's not something I'm ever been interested in MMOs. Well, for the most part. There are very few PvP orientated things that I've really enjoyed in my MMOs. I'm really there for the PvE content, and I love doing things cooperatively. The only PvP I'm really interested in is FPS shooters for the most part. So, cooperative zones. And again, I'm cautiously optimistic. And also very curious. So let's read the description. So not an event, not a sandbox, like contested zones, but the opposite. Okay. Where investigation, puzzle solving, and cooperation with players around you will make completing objectives easier. So with the feature set that we have in game in Star Citizen right now, it's going to be interesting to see what they have in mind when it comes to puzzle solving, and cooperation and investigation. And obviously this is a first outing on this, and that will be expanded upon and likely made a lot more interesting as different features that are adjacent to those sorts of things come along. But if it's something that I can get together with a small group and we can go do and have fun, and I am all about it. That's like A, the type of gameplay I like, and B, something I love to do on stream. So I'm very curious to see what these entail. And the image for that, let's see, we'll close that. Was the gameplay? There we go. Cooperative zones. So the image is of an ASD facility, and we'll read more about those in a second, because that's another thing I'm super curious about. So, abandoned underground facilities. So, located on every moon of the Stanton system, these enormous multi-level structures are used for the new cooperative zones coming in Alpha 4.3. This card has been set to tentative. So, if you remember, back during the development of distribution centers, they used to be called the new UGFs. And instead of calling them the new UGFs, that's the thing. Is this a distribution center that's abandoned, but they're calling it an abandoned underground facility? Is this like the underground facilities that we already have, but reworked to look abandoned? Because when they say enormous, it doesn't make me think the current UGFs we have. Remember, they had described the UGFs we have now as the small variant, and the DCs we were getting were medium. And so they eventually have plans for a large, essentially. But they are multi-level, and the ones we have now are technically multi-level. I mean, there's a surface level, the elevator goes down, but then there's multiple floors. You go downstairs and stuff. So it's hard to know what, or is this a new archetype of point of interest location entirely that is entirely different than what we've had or seen before? And if you remember the concept art for the distribution centers, some of the latter concept art did show off abandoned and sort of derelict looking underground portions, because they focused heavily on that. So we don't know. But in my opinion, I think this leans more towards a new POI type. Simply because they say underground facilities and not abandoned distribution centers. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for. So I'm going to be optimistic towards that. If it's just reskinned UGFs and they call those enormous, I'm going to be real disappointed. Hey, Socially Confused. Good evening. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for dropping by and coming and hang out with us. So, yeah. But these are to be used for the new cooperative zones coming in Alpha 4.3. Now, I've heard that the objectives are related to doing a mission for the doctor, that the mad scientist doctor guy from the ASD facilities in Pyro. Maverick69 says, I think I saw the original concept video for the UGFs that showed a huge elevator that went down multiple floors and was massive in area. Oh yeah, the Space Tomato has shown that many times. The UGS we have are not what they had. It's what they could get in time for CitizenCon 2948, if I remember correctly. It's what they could get in time, and so that's why they haven't further developed those a whole lot more. Because they got them in, and then they went on to other things, and they didn't cut the mustard for what they're looking for. But then they've since gone back and they added those. They redid those UGFs in Rastar, and to allow for more variety on the surface, obviously. But that didn't never change anything below the surface. So maybe this is taking what we have now and expanding upon it to include the original vision and reskinning it for ASD and to look abandoned. That's a thought. I don't know. Either way, it's a new location. And I really like the distribution centers. The only problem is there's zero variety between them other than the branding. And that's a problem to me. It's just copy paste. The other POI that we have in Stanton are the really old outposts that are just, other than the freight elevators, are dying for an update. Just absolutely dying for an update. They are so dated and so static. And those need a refresh for sure. But then after that, it's just derelict looking stuff, the scrap outposts, and I'm not into that aesthetic. I'm not into it at all. It's not my thing, and so we don't have anything in between. We have Pyro, which has outposts that are either lawful or unlawful. But it's just a whole bunch of scrap looking stuff, other than the DCs and the really old outposts and the really old UGFs in Stanton. And so I'm really hopeful for getting some new flavor and stuff that fits within the Stanton area. Yeah, settlements that aren't run down. Why don't we have towns? It's a long time coming. Yeah, I'm just happy for content. This year has been a very good year for me just because it's things to do. Yeah. Things to do, new places to go, and things to see. But I want, you've got huge disparities in the type and archetype of locations in Stanton, and it just feels a little bit disjointed to me. Hey, Mishal 19K, good to see you. Thanks for coming by and hanging out. Hope you're doing well. 07s. The Volt Laser Sniper Zenith, implementing the latest in the Volt series of weapons. The art on, not my type of weapon, not my bag, but the art on these is really well done. Whoever's putting these together has done a bang up job. The Sniper Light Armor Geist, adding a new Sniper Light Armor Geist, specialized in stealth gameplay with high mobility. So the question is, they are adding this sniper armor with these, pardon me, specialized in stealth gameplay with high mobility. If you remember them talking about that sort of stuff in CitizenCon in terms of signatures and detection and movement, how, other than we have light, medium, and heavy right now, stealth, is there going to be more coming in 4.3 that we don't know about? Or is that just eventually it'll be stealth, and for now it's not? Medium utility armor, Ambrose. Yay, more utility armor coming in 4.3.x. So let's... characters. Whoop. Oh, no picture yet. There's the sniper armor. They showed this one off at CitizenCon, right? That's the one they showed off, yeah. More new hairstyles. Ladder improvements, improving the reliability and use of ladders in game. I'm more of a, Maverick says, I'm more of a DMR guy, to be honest, but I appreciate a solid sniper rifle when I come across one in game for sure. Yeah, I'm always been a DMR battle rifle guy. That's always been my bag. And even though a lot of games, they are poorly balanced, I think that the challenge of using them, especially, is makes it more rewarding. You give me, I have an M1A in my garage, in my garage safe. It's just one shot, one kill. Hey, Danger Hobo, dang, 36 minutes late to Operation Tree reads the long ones. Hey, at least you made it though. Yeah, DMRs and battle rifles, semi-auto and a heavier round, one shot, one mortgage. Yeah, that statement tells you may live in Idaho. Well, actually, I bought it when I was living in Reno, but it is part of the reason I moved to Idaho. Is I lived in Reno, and so I did quite a bit of shooting out in the desert when I lived in Reno, and that's when I bought my SIG 556XI there.
Part of the crew.
Hey, Maverick, thanks for the follow.
Part of the crew, part of the ship. Part of the crew,
Part of the crew,
part
part of the ship.
Part of the crew, part of the ship.
Yeah, I have mine in the Archangel stock, and so it's legit. With a Vortex, it's a 3x10, if I remember. I haven't shot in a while. But yeah, I bought that. I bought the Springfield M1A. I bought my SIG 556XI, my P320, all when I lived in Reno. And then I took a job in California and moved back to California and flew there as flight medic for several years. And all of my modern guns were very illegal in California. So they just sat in my safe, hidden in my garage for over 3 years, and didn't shoot them once. And so That's part of the reason I moved to Idaho. Is I was like, no, I want to shoot my guns, and I'm for sure, I have a bunch of inherited weapons that, just by not having them registered in California are illegal. And I was like, there's no way I'm registering my family heirlooms, get fucked. So yeah. Ladder improvements. So improving the reliability and use of ladders in game. Thank goodness, because they are janky. My question is, will that impact the animations for getting in and out of cockpits? Are those ladders? Or just the very specific straight up ladders? And is it ladders at locations? Does it count for ladders within ships going up and down in the, say, the Carrack or the Valkyrie? And they say reliability and use. As far as I can recall, they never changed it so that way you could get off a ladder mid-climb going, like the Carrack's ladder goes up across all three decks, and you can't really get off of it, mid-climb. So, or at least it couldn't last time I used it. So that's one thing. And one thing that drives me nuts is you go down a ladder and it cants your head. I don't know why it does that, but it drives me nuts. AI FPS turrets, adding anti-personnel turrets for players to avoid or destroy, providing additional PvE challenges. Heck yeah. That will make things real interesting. I imagine they're probably going to be limited at first, most likely at the new abandoned underground facilities, but we shall see. But definitely something that is overdue. Socially Confused says, we had a neighbor in the sticks of Nampa who restored a Sherman tank. He wanted the vehicle he used in World War II. He told the best stories. That was back in the 80s. I wonder what happened to that tank. I don't know. Maybe it got donated? I don't know if we have a Sherman on display on Gowan. Now I think about it. Yeah. Mission pickup on location, and this should be interesting. Enabling new missions to be discovered and added to journals when you approach or enter a designated area. Again, this is one of those things where this is being enabled by ongoing work on the mission system. So they did the mission system refactor, and now we're on the new mission system, and they're working towards the mission system 2.0. So that it's one thing that people have been sleeping on like crazy is they've been hard at work on further developing the mission system. And so and that's something that's part of the reason I wanted to talk about concepting the rescue missions is the more development they do on different bits of tech and features within the mission system, the more interesting and the more engaging and complex and varied our missions will get and contracts will get in game. Missions, contracts, events, the whole shebang. So being able to go to a location and suddenly you get a notification that says, hey, there's a mission related to that location that you can accept or not. That's a new thing that's being enabled by development of the mission system. And so it'll be interesting to see the nature of those missions, where they pop up. Are there things that trigger them? Are they chained to missions that you took to take you there? So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. Danger Over says you could buy them for scrap value when they got decommissioned. Who has space for a howitzer though? Yeah, I mean, unless you live out in the sticks and you got a shop. Because they made. Gosh, how many Shermans do you think they made in World War II and beyond? I mean, it's got to be many tens of thousands at least. I don't know. A lot. A whole lot. Wicklow special ships. 50,000. Tell you what, let's Google it. So, Sherman tank. Let's see. It says tens of thousands were distributed through the Lend-Lease program. Sorry, it's white. Number built 49,234. Dang, North End Trooper, you are like spot on. I mean, that wouldn't have passed for Price is Right rules, but still, like right on there. Nearly 50,000 German tanks. That's nuts. Yeah, considering most of the Allied nations had them in their inventories, and lots of countries were still using them up until like very recently if Price was wrong. I've always wanted to go to the tank museum in the UK. I do like the videos and their like parade thing that they show off every year is always really incredible. I'm glad I got into arty instead of tanks. Putting a track back on seems like an all-day deal. Not only an all-day deal, but back-breaking work. Oh my gosh. Drake needs to make a tank like the Tiger II. Except for Drake wouldn't make the Tiger II. The Tiger II is complex and over-engineered and expensive. You know, that would be like an anvil thing, or maybe Aegis. I've done it in the dark, in the snow, or rain. Ew. Yeah, no thanks. Wicklow special ships. Adding the following special ships to Wicklow's Emporium. Misk Starlancer Tack, Drake Golem, and Volterrapin Medic with upgraded components. These ships can be unlocked by bringing the NPC Wicklow a number of favors in exchange of rewards. Excellent. Good to see. More Wicklow rewards. More play to win. All right, so that is it for the July 2nd Roadmap Roundup. Lots of really good additions. 4.3, I mean, if that's the first edition, and that's the August patch, and we're at the beginning of July, 4.3 could be a very interesting patch. Could be a lot of fun, I think. So let's go ahead and we will switch screens to this one real quick, and I'll pull up the monthly report.